Hey guys, new video here. Is it worth episode 3? Today I would like to talk about the Gull, Raven Mask. It's been in the game a long time. It was in during Domination, but what happened is it didn't get the kind of rework until a few leagues ago, and since then it's kind of been one of my favorite items in the game. But before we get to that, I just want to show you something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter this map. And I have a timer in the bottom right of my screen, and I'll kind of explain why I have that after I do it at the end of the video here. So ready, and we're gonna start this. This is a domination map here. My lightning falls is procced, so I'm just gonna see how long it takes to do this moon temple. This is a tier 16. Okay, I'm gonna skip that because that doesn't really count, right? But hold on one second here. The elbow is going to slow it down a little bit. But I'm going to do this Moon Temple once again. It's a T16. It is rare and corrupted. I'm hitting some strong boxes here. Got my hot circle up. I also made some changes to my Winter's Orb build, which I'll go over in a separate video. Okay, boss is in here. Look, I don't have Whale Blade Vortex anymore. Feels bad, man. But the damage is still respectable. I'm huge. Look at this. I'm like Johnny Sins right now. I'm actually engorged right now with the juice. So I'm just going to run around here. Oh, another shrine. What could that be? Is it a good one? Ooh, resist shrine. Okay, not bad. I'm going to run around some more. Like, this lab is actually not so bad. Ooh, minion shrine here. Grab all those guys. Which way am I going? Yeah, I really should have gotten a flame dash in here, huh? Took up my six socket there. You know, maybe I'll come back and do Alva after the YouTube video is done. Oh, is it a let's see, is this a, oh, it's not transportation. Okay, transportation on Moon Temple is sometimes bugged to the point where you actually have you actually are unable to complete it because the end point is like right next to the choo-choo train starting point, right? And one second here, we're at a minute 30. Okay, not bad, not bad. Let's clear some more. We still have more than 50. Let's try to get under 50 monsters remaining. How about that? And I'm picking up the shrines, the mini shrines. I'm picking up the items as we go. Right, so I'm playing this I'm not trying to super clip, not skipping those alv or anything, but okay, so that is 14 monsters remaining, and we're at 1 minute and 50 seconds. Okay, I'm just gonna stop right there. So 1 minute and 50 seconds to complete that map. I'll go back for alvas later, but. Okay, so I'll explain that in a little bit. So let's talk about the Gull Raven Mask. So if you take it at a base item, it's already pretty good, right? How good is this as a base item? Well, it's got up to 80 maximum life, which is a very respectable roll, right, on any rare helmet, and it does have an up to 40% cold resist roll, which is also, it's not tier 1, but it is very close. It is a very respectable cold resist roll on there. So big resist, big life roll, and especially early in the league, if you look at a helmet like this, you'd be like, you know what, it's all right. I mean, I would use that. At early, it's like 3-4C to get it. It's super easy to get because there's domination on the Zaba map table. I think you can craft this from the bestiary altar. So overall, a solid helm, and I mean, it has evasion and energy shield. I think that energy shield can go up to, let's see, what is it? It's like, around like 150. It's actually pretty good there. So I mean, it does have a little bit of a hybrid roll, right? Life and yes. So the base item is solid, nothing too crazy there. But the thing to note about it is it has a few insane mods for shrines, and that's what makes this item so crazy. So what happens when you kill a monster? So this thing actually has a cooldown, but when you kill a monster, you create a lesser shrine. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull that up right here. Right, so I have some effects here that I'll talk about in just a second, but before I talk about that, let's talk about budgeting on the skill tree. So on the skill tree, when you're looking at everyone knows that once you get your character level 80, level 90, you're looking at the skill tree and you're like, you know what? How do I value skill points, right? How do I actually want to progress the next couple of points to make my character a little bit stronger? And when it comes to budgeting, it's pretty widely accepted that a good node in terms of life is about 5%, right? Sometimes 4%. So 4 to 5% increase maximum life per node. 4% attack and cast speed, attack or cast speed is very good for a node. Things like over here you have the little nodes right here. So those are the budgeting for the attack and cast speed. In terms of a straight up damage, anything between 10 and 14% could be achievable. So those are the minimums there, right? And then another thing is the ES rolls, probably like 6 to 8% you're looking for at the minimum there. So these are all stats that are like in the back of our mind. Like if we can get that easily, we probably would, right? So what I mean by that is let's say I have these life nodes available, right? And I value life. Well, then it's like, oh, I would very much want to take this 5% life node if I value life the most, because it's right there, it's available, and it's above the budgeting of 4 to 5% per node. Right? And then also like with damage, like you can look here, right? This is like 10 and then like 12% there. So these are actually okay, because this one gives a little bit of extra like other benefits too. So like your budgeting, you'd be like okay going over here. And then for ES, you have things like right here, for example. Oh, sorry, not right there, right here. You see this? You have like 8 and 20%. Oh my God, that's huge, right? So you'd be okay budgeting a couple points in here. And the reason I discuss this is because the goal gives you a level of buffs that is kind of trumps any kind of skill point budgeting you could imagine. So when someone wants one of these world temples, hold on. So let's take a look at just the lesser shrines, right? Because the goal to the bottom affects the bottom two lines of this item is the first one is 75% increased effect of shrine buffs on you. So what you can effectively do is take 1.75 and multiply any shrine effect, and then you also have 50% increased duration of shrine effects on you. Now shrine effects last for 45 seconds by default. Okay, 45 seconds. Just think about that for a second. And then if you have this 50%, it goes to 67.5 seconds. Now in PoE, the rule is if you have a decimal, unless it's something weird like a tiny regen or something like that, what you're doing is you are rounding down. They never give you the benefit of rounding up usually, and so 67.5 just becomes 67.5. You'll see it on the buff bar as like 67 in terms of resists. If you have a 75.5% resist, you actually don't have 75.5 resist. You actually have 75. Okay. Now there are little things like quality where like the percentages matter and stuff, but we're not going to talk about that here. So basically, you can think about it as a minute and 7 seconds on your shrine buffs, right, by default, without the Solstice Vigil, which we'll talk about later. And so what does that mean? Let's just pull up the buffs real quick. So the mini shrines that you get, right, from killing the lesser enemies, they do show up on the mini map, so you'll be able to see them and click them. So basically, the really good ones are lesser acceleration shrine. This is action speed, so 17% action speed, projectile, a little boost to projectile speed, which is very good. Lesser brutal shrine. This is global damage. A lot of people think that brutal shrine is only physical damage because of like the gore effects and the way it knocks things back. But this is global damage, right? So you're looking at what is 75%? It's like 30 something increased damage, and then also stun duration there. This one's kind of awesome if you're any kind of like evasion ES build, right? Because you get the benefit here. You get this times 1.75 for the armor, evasion, and energy shield. So if you're a hybrid, that's also pretty cool. And then you have the massive shrine. Everybody knows about the massive shrine. You gain like the what is that? 17% character size. You get a little bit more AOE, 30-something% AOE, and then 30-something% increased max life. So this is actually one of the most common shrines in the game if you've ever played with the Gull or if you've ever ran domination on your maps. It is so common, and because of this, how many points on trade? This is essentially, AoE, let's say you have 30-something% AoE, right? That's essentially 3 nodes on the tree. If you're thinking about 30-something% life, that's at least 5 nodes on the tree, right? 6 nodes on the tree. And so that's just insane for clicking on one little shrine. And then let's look at the regen. Now, most people don't really value regen, but regen is, I guess, quality of life. Especially since these days when people are corrupting their maps, it's more likely to get like 6, 7, 8 mod maps. What's going to happen is the ground effects like caustic ground, fiery ground, things like this, they might degen you a little bit. And if you're not like a full-blown regen character or like certain ascendancy, this will actually help you a lot while you're like picking up loot, while you're rolling boxes. use, and so this helps mitigate some of that annoyance in some of the maps, right? So this actually helps a lot. And also, if you have a spammy skill that is relying on leech, mana leech, I mean, this regen is actually pretty huge, right? Remember, this is multiplied by 1.75, so I think it's like about 5.6, 5.8 or something like that. So 5 point something percent regen of both, right? If you have the Gull, so that's crazy. And then this one, so like how people like to use the lore weave. Lore weave has a insane amount of other stats, but the 80%, your resistances are 80%, right? Which is huge. Basically meaning like if you had 75 and you go to 80, what's happening is you're actually taking 20% less damage, right? Well, when you multiply this by 1.75, you're actually above 3%, but once again, you round down because of the rules of PoE. So when you hit this lesser resist shrine, you have 3% maximum resist. Okay, so think about how expensive sometimes a good amulet is with +1 max res, +1 max res. Think about sometimes a corruption on a chest, which can give you +1 max res, right? Think about how expensive these implicits add to an item, right? And then think about how you just get it for free. You get 3% from this one shrine, and these are lesser shrines, right? So that's just absolutely crazy. And in terms of the rarity, I'll talk about rarity next because it affects the lesser shrines as well as the greater shrines in terms of which shrines are the most common, which ones will you expect to see and have all the time, and which ones are the special, the juicy ones that might not show up every map, but when it does, oh my goodness, you're just off to the races, right? So these are normie shrines. So let's talk about the big boy shrines. So those are normie shrines that even if you don't run domination, even if your map has not spawned a shrine naturally, those are things you can get by killing monsters, and they'll show up on the ground for you to click. Let's talk about the big shrines. These are the actual pillars that you'll see in the map. They're usually surrounded by a pack of like 50 or more monsters. And then so we'll go over this real quick. So the acceleration shrine, I'll give you the full-blown numbers, right? If you hit an acceleration shrine, you're looking at like 87.5% action speed, and then 140% projectile speed. Okay, 140% projectile speed, 87.5% action speed. So if you take a ascendancy that is well known for multiplying action speed, you take something like Deadeye, right? And think about how crazy it is when you stack Deadeye, 10%, 10%, 10% when you're spending skills. And now think about a flat bonus that is not dependent on anything. Also, when you hit this round, you cannot be frozen. For anyone that doesn't know how freeze works, freeze is actually like a 0% action speed or whatever, but if you have increased action speed, you literally cannot be frozen. So freeze on contact strong boxes, things like that, that's just a little bit of extra bonus right here. Okay, so this is it's so crazy how good this shrine is. This is by far the best shrine. You'll be moving ultra fast through the entire map. To the point where, like, even if you're like a shield charge, whirling blades character, you're not going to want to use that skill. You probably want to move around just for the ease of use. So the best shrine, hands down. And once again, by default with the Gull on, it lasts for 1 minute and 7 seconds. Okay. The next one, the brutal shrine. So this one is 87.5% increased damage, which is that is let's say like anywhere between let's say it's anywhere between 6 to 8 points of skill tree, and then increased stun duration, 50-something% increased stun duration, not that great. Well, I mean, I guess it's kind of good since if you do big hits, if you're a hitting build, you will stun all the enemies, so not bad. And then knocking back enemies. So there's how like some bow builds take King of the Hill, which is a node at the bottom of the skill tree between the Ranger and the Duelist, and that knocks enemies back. I think it's on crit or something, but it's a very good defensive. Might be a little bit annoying if you're using like a Whale Blade Vortex where it's like pushing things around, you got like reposition, but overall a nice defensive and a very nice damage boost. You'll definitely notice this. Okay, and once again, it's global, so it's like not just it's not just hits, it's like it's also applies to like dot builds too. All right, so this one right here, this is a Diamond Shrine. Diamond Shrine doesn't need to be talked about because it doesn't have like a boost. Like you can't have more than 100% crit, right? So this happens, all hits are critical strikes. It's got the added bonus of some really edgy and cool flavor text. It says deliver pain exquisite, right? That's so badass. That's like really metal. And then so unless you're a crit build, maybe it doesn't matter, but if you're Elemental Overlord, you have Perma Elemental Overlord. Obviously crit builds like 100% crit, massive 100% boost to your damage, right? Like think about it like accuracy, right? If you have 100% accuracy and then your crit base, it like multiplies. So this one, if your crit base, it's a one-time multiplication to 100% crit. So amazing, amazing shrine right here. All right, this one's a more of a rare one. I'll say you get this once every maybe 5 to 10 maps of the Divine Shrine, and this is just basically immunity. It's just immunity to every single type of damage. I think if you hit your Whale Righteous Fire, it'll still take away the 30% life. I'm pretty sure I haven't tried in a while, but I think that's how it works. But for any kind of regular thing that in a map that might be deadly to you, you cannot take damage from it. So like the ground effects, the monsters, the bears, the reflect, like anything like this, you cannot take damage from, right? And it also makes the mobs around the thing immune, so you might want to be a little bit careful, maybe have a phasing to touch this thing or go real fast. But this is just a ridiculous shrine. When you have it, a minute and 7 seconds of pure immunity. How crazy is that, right? So that's a really good shrine right there. Echoing shrine. So this one's interesting. This one's also one of the more rare ones. And so what it has is obviously it's 175% more attack speed, more cast speed, and skills repeat an additional time. So like for example, if you're winding up something like a Blade Vortex, Winter's Orb, what's going to happen is instead of like getting one stack at a time, you get 2 stacks at a time essentially, but even more than that because it's a repeat and it's a cast bonus. And then the big thing about this shrine is if you are a whale skill using souls to power, so Whale Fireball, Whale Spark, Whale Storm Call, it casts additional time. So instead of 1 Storm Call, you'll have 2 Storm Calls on the ground, and it's essentially 100% more damage. It doesn't take away like for example, if you have 5 stacks of your skill and you cast it, and you have this Echo Shrine, it doesn't take away 2 out of the 5 charges. It uses 1 charge and gives you 2 Storm Calls, right? It's so ridiculous in terms of damage and feel for the build. Now, there's also these like the Freezing Shrine and Lightning Shrine are like the little elemental, like little pulsing Nova shrines. So these are probably like, you know, kind of whatever. But I mean, Ice Dove is not that bad. Chill Ground, you know, it's a little bit of extra effect on you. So Ice Dove is like probably the lesser of the two. But the Lightning Shrine, this casts Shock Nova, right? And also Shock Ground. So Shock Ground is an ailment just on the ground. It doesn't hit or anything. So it is at a base 20% increased damage taken. And so maybe on a single target situation, it will help you a little bit. So not a completely useless shrine here either. Did we talk about Impenetrable? Yeah, we talked about this. What else do we have? The Impenetrable Shrine. Okay, so this one is once again 175% increased evasion and armor, and then the big one, Energy Shield, right? That is like 175% increased maximum energy shield is for any kind of ES based build or any kind of build that steals mods, right? Using a headhunter, this will give you 10, 20,000 ES sometimes, right? When you're stealing the mods that give you ES. So it's kind of broken to the point where you're just taking volatiles, you're taking like 3-4 lightning boys, 3-4 volatiles at a time, and it's pretty hilarious. So amazing shrine here, and the other two aren't too shabby either because it gives you a little bit avoidance and a little bit of mitigation here. All right. The Massive Shrine. So the Massive Shrine, when you hit, you'll notice it because once this gets multiplied by 75%, your character's going to just be absolutely huge to the point where, like, if you're stealing some other mods, the Winter's Orb, you know how initially it's like above your head, like up here, it'll just like be in your chest or like in your head or something, right, on your character model. This right here, 70% AoE, right? That's essentially a free Pendulum of Destruction from the Elementalist node, except for it's up all the time, and it stacks with the Pendulum of Destruction. So if you have this one, you're going to notice your Herald's explosions are much bigger, and then this one right here is 70% increased maximum life, right? Nothing to say there. That's like probably 12 points on the skill tree that you get for, once again, a minute and 7 seconds by default. Replenishing Shrine, huge right here, right? Like 17% mana regen, and then I don't know what this is. This is like maybe like 11% life regen per second or something for the regen shrine. So pretty good. I mean, regen and mana regen, like it's just a quality of life. It feels so good to have. And then my favorite one. Okay, so with the amount of particles in Path of Exile in 2019, sometimes you just can't see shit, right? Volatiles flying out with a desync sometimes there's a corpse explosion, sometimes it's lightning boys. They did add a sound to lightning boys in the last patch, I think in 3.5, but it's still sometimes hard to hear. And what does that mean? That means sometimes you'll eat a death from not seeing a bears, not seeing a lightning boy, not seeing a volatile, not seeing a little cold explosion or something, right? Well, this shrine is one of the most common shrines, and what it gives you is it makes your resistances 92% max res, 92%, right? And that is just ridiculous, because you could basically tank any kind of elemental stuff in the game with that level of resist. Once again, lasting for 1 minute and 7 seconds, and it's just overpowered. It's just overpowered. Like imagine how much you would pay for something that could give you like this much max resist, right? And it is once again one of the most reliable shrines to get, both the lesser and the main shrines in the entire game. So just completely broken, this shrine by itself. Okay, shrouded shrine. So smoke clouds, right? Smoke clouds is basically like blind on the enemies, and this is actually pretty good. It gives you it is a big defensive, especially for if you click on smoke clouds. It is especially good for if a monster is attacking you, right? Smoke cloud AoE is respectable where it counts, right? But the smoke cloud is only to protect you against the attack monsters, right? They just won't hit you while they're in the smoke cloud. And then skeletal shrines. Skeletal shrine is basically a minion shrine. What happens is that when you click on it, it'll summon little guys around you from periodically. And although it's probably not one of the best shrines, it is kind of a meat shield. So if you're summoning, it's kind of like a Herald of Purity, you know, where like the monsters don't exactly taunt, but because they are on the map, there's a chance that a single target mob, like a boss or a betrayal guy, will target the skeletons instead of you. So not a completely useless shrine. Okay, so we've gone over all this stuff. You can kind of see how OP it is in comparison to like how do you value skill points on the tree, how do you value character buffs, right, on the skill tree and things like that. And so the shrines are OP. 1 minute and 7 seconds. Why did I do the timer at the beginning? So that was a T16 map, playing the same way that I usually do. And that map lasted 1 minute and 40 seconds, and it was also kind of on a layout that you could say is not like exactly open, like an estuary or something else that like people sometimes prefer more open layouts. And so I did 1 minute and 40 seconds. The buffs on these shrines last 1 minute and 7 seconds. So just by that alone, what's like 67 divided by 100, right? It's like 67% of the map I had uptime of let's just say like the 3 shrines, right? Now, why else does this matter? Well, if you take a look at this item, this item is actually really cheap now, the Solstice Virgil. This item has a Shaper's Presence, which basically gives you, it makes things expire like 33% slower, which is effectively, I think the wiki said that it gives it's 50% increased duration on those buffs. So, so the Gull by itself is completely OP, right? Especially if it has an enchant for your skill. But if you pair it, I love combos in this game, and the combo with the Solstice Virgil makes it so that you have 140 seconds, right? You have 140 seconds. I'm sorry, not 140 seconds. 1 minute and 40 seconds of shrine uptime. So essentially, if you're a fast zoom build, you have 100% uptime on the shrines, right? It just like blows my mind, these interactions. I like how they haven't like done full set items, but these crazy unique interactions kind of work so well together. So I would say even without the amulet, the shrine, is it worth it? It is definitely worth it. I would say it's definitely worth it to try out if you're a new player, if you're a veteran player. If you can get the helm enchant, amazing. If you can't, try it anyways. You might end up really loving this helm. So that's all I have to say for it. The Gull is super worth it, super cheap. Beginning of the league is cheap, end of the league is cheap, easily obtainable in almost any league. And yeah, that's it. Okay, thank you for watching my video, guys. Bye.